mic is all the way over there. Okay. Hey, visionary. Welcome back to another episode here at Nothing for Granted. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do want to make a quick disclaimer. If anyone is easily grossed out, this is probably not the episode for you. Or you can just fast forward and I'll let you know where. But today I want to talk to you about what happens when your consultation goes totally wrong. This is your initial consultation with a client, or maybe you have just been brought on board for, regardless of the service, you are in a meeting and things just go totally south. I want to help you navigate that conversation and by sharing some of the stories and things that have happened to me and how I was able to overcome them. I hope that today's episode is super helpful. Welcome to Nothing for Granted, a space for aspiring grant writers who are tired of feeling undervalued, underpaid, and overworked by your understaffed nonprofit. Hi, my name is Eliana, grant writer, grants consultant, and freelance coach for Christian entrepreneurs. I live for long-distance cycling rides, iced chai lattes, and outdoor adventures with my 4 little beasts. I teach you grant writing strategies and freelance tactics that set you apart when launching and scaling your Holy Spirit-led business. I too was paralyzed by those questions. So paralyzed, in fact, that I launched my business twice, thinking maybe I should take another training because, underqualification. Well, 5 certifications on my wall later. But what if I told you that with a little basic knowledge and next to no experience, you too could launch a successful and sustainable freelance grant consulting business while pursuing that degree, raising littles, and maybe getting a tan on the beach? Permission granted to stop feeling guilty over leaving behind that organization that has you stagnant and to confidently and boldly step into the most elevated version of who you were created to be. You're here for encouragement, accountability, and a slight tough love kick in the butt. No goals, just standards. Lace up your combat boots, tighten up that ponytail. Girl, it's time to get to work. So if you are a grant writer that is ready to transition into a space where you can dictate your hours, you can dictate how much money you want to charge based off of your knowledge, your work ethic, your performance, etc. If you want to work from an airplane or the side of the mountain, if you are going to be juggling motherhood and business like I do, and you just want better work-life balance than what your current job in the nonprofit world is providing you, then I definitely encourage you lock in a freelance consultation with me. It is a 1-hour consultation where you get my follow-up notes within 24 hours. You get a copy of the recording. So you get a copy of that Zoom recording. And it is just super resource packed. We're going to create a strategy for you. We're going to talk niching down and just really getting to the sticky parts of your business so that you have an action plan in place to get started, launch your business, grow your business, and have sustainability. Okay? So definitely visit www.buffaloambitionco.com to connect with me and to lock that in. All right. No more talk. Let's just get right into today's episode. So what do you do when your consultation goes totally wrong? You have been preparing for this for days probably, and you felt really confident, and then maybe you stumbled upon a word or you made a joke that didn't go over really well, or just something super awkward happened. So I'm going to start off with a story, and this is the point where if you get easily queasy, I recommend that you just fast forward. So a couple weeks ago, I am helping my husband get the kids in the car for daycare, and my now 4-year-old gets sick as I'm putting him in the car. He just, out of nowhere. And I was able to block out the majority of my day, except for a consultation that I had with a client within an hour. At that point, it's too late for a cancellation. That doesn't look good on my brand. I would much rather just rough it out and we'll get through this. So I thought it would be fine. I let the person know, hey, my son's here. He doesn't really feel well. So if we have any interruptions, it's really what it's going to be. And I kind of just set that expectation early on in the case something were to happen. Well, let's fast forward 45 minutes into the call. I thought I had left my son on the couch, laying down, watching movies. He couldn't hold anything down. So I kind of figured that as we neared the end of the consultation, something was going to go wrong. 45 minutes into the car, my son comes in vomiting everywhere, all over the carpet. He is screaming and crying, and there are fluids everywhere. And so I'm the kind of person who will walk the other way when people start crying. I don't know how to handle certain emotions. And at that point I was like, whoa, okay, excuse me. I excused myself and I helped my son finish off in the toilet, and I stuck him in the shower. And literally through the last 15 minutes of our call, you could hear him in the background, like crying and screaming with the shower on. And I was just like, totally well composed. Like, we're just going to keep going through this. Like, it's fine. So how do you come back from that, right? Like, your son comes into the room vomiting while you're on the phone with a client, literally a video call with a client. How do you come back from that? I'm going to share with you my 3 tips and a bonus on how do you recover from mortifying situations like that. Number 1 is be proactive. So like I mentioned, I had advised my client beforehand, hey, my son is sick. So if we have any interruptions, that's what it is. Setting the expectation early on, if this is something that you know that you can't control, my recommendation is be transparent. Clients are super understanding. Again, I go back to the same thing if you've heard some of my other episodes. We are in COVID times where everyone is just navigating this new normal of working from home with children, with dogs, with other spouses. And as we continue to navigate that, I think that slowly we're starting to normalize the fact that, yeah, some of us run businesses and run households. Like this is the reality of that. So number 1 is to be proactive. Just let them know, hey, thank you so much for joining me on this call today. If you hear any crazy noises in the background, it's just my kids. It's just my dogs. It's just my parakeet. Like whatever the case is, once it's out in the open, guess what? There's no more fear. There's no more awkwardness. There's no more questioning what it is. It's out in the open. There's no more elephant in the room, and you guys can move forward from it. So be proactive. Number 2 is it's not that serious. Like I said, times have drastically changed, and people have changed in their approach of how they handle certain situations. I think that as a collective, we are definitely a lot more empathetic. I think that we are just a lot more understanding that everybody's individual work situation is totally different. And so if you are interrupted, literally roll it off your shoulder. You could even make a joke out of it. Told you that was going to happen. Anyways, where were we? And you just keep with it, right? Don't be fazed by that interruption. Don't be fazed by that awkward moment. This is my perception, things are only as awkward as you make them. I have been in some really weird situations, but I'm weird and I'm all for it. So I walk into weird situations and I just own it. Like, oh, okay, this is awkward. Let's do this. I'm here for it. I'm a little weird. I'm a little awkward. Why not? And so when you shake things off like that, that energy is contagious and other people will shake it off as well. I don't want you guys to get so caught up in the fact that, oh my God, I'm a consultant now. I'm a grants professional. Like, I can't be so fun, or I can't be so open or vulnerable about, my situation. Why not? You're a person just like anyone else. They are no more ahead of you. They're no more inferior to you. They're probably in the same boat, and appreciate the fact that you're being honest about your situation, because then they can be honest about your situation. I remember that I had a client a few months back, and he was, like I mentioned, a lot of my clients are international, and he was actually walking his dog while we're having our initial talk, our initial our initial consultation while I'm getting to know him. And he's like, hey, so sorry, I'm walking my dog. And I'm like, yeah, that's totally fine, dude. Like, do what you have to do. Life does not stop just because you have a meeting. Like, that's just not real. So shrug it off your shoulders, keep it going. My third tip is to recover. So this last piece is totally up to you, okay? If you weren't proactive, let's say you weren't proactive, let's say that the situation is just really heavy, it's cold, like the virtual room is cold, and you really don't feel like you've been able to shrug it off. Like I said, you weren't proactive from the beginning, and whatever the situation is, it's really gotten to you. So this last piece is up to you. Some consultants provide customers a discount, an alternative session, like, hey, I'm so sorry that this happened. Do you want to reschedule this for a different date? Or you can offer nothing at all. Honestly, this is totally case-by-case basis, and I really want you to think about what and how you would recover, what you would offer, so that you're not overcompensating for something that was minuscule, okay? Like I said, 9 times out of 10, if you're proactive and you shrug it off your shoulders, it's fine and you can keep going. If you do feel like going and taking that extra step, that of course is going to be reflective of your brand, and it's just going to help the client sometimes feel a little bit more comfortable with you because they acknowledge, hey, you know what, this person obviously knows that I wasn't cool with that, or they acknowledge and appreciate the fact that I was so flexible with that situation, and they in turn will appreciate that recovery. So that's up to you. All right, so my bonus tip is just that. Things are only as awkward as you make them. If you shrug it off, you have a good time, at the very, very least, guys, it makes for a great story. That is just the reality. I love sharing that story with my son. I don't think that it's a story that I'm ever going to forget, because it's real, it's raw, this is a life. And so when you don't take yourself so serious, when you don't take this life that we're living and are so fortunate to have so serious, people will appreciate that about you. There's so many things that are taking up so much of our energy and attention that sometimes we need a good laugh. Sometimes we need a little reminder to take things lighter, because everything does not need to be so serious, especially in the grants world where we have strict deadlines and we need this and we need that. And if there's so much pressure if we don't get this grant, that sometimes people appreciate a good laugh. And if you can be the person to provide that for them, even if it was unintentional, then I know that they will appreciate that. So I hope that these 4 tips help you navigate your consultations if things go totally wrong. If you have a story that is similar to mine, if you have a consultation that just went south, I would love to hear your story. I would love for you to share it with me on Instagram. That's at buffaloambitionco, or you could share it in our Facebook community page. That's bit.ly/freelance grant writing. I want to hear how you guys dealt with that situation, what the story was. I could always use a good laugh. I thank you so much for being here, and I pray that you have a blessed rest of your week. Thank you so much, Visionary. Talk to you soon. Before you go, don't forget to rate, review, and share this podcast with a friend that needs to hear it. See you in next week's episode.